My people. I've got new caves for you, I've got new gameplay elements for you, and I've got what's coming next in mining later this year for you. And if you're loving this content, and I mean really loving, you can help support me over on Patreon, where you can get early videos, you can get monthly report summaries, and you can get other little perks here and there. For everybody else who's just trying to get some good news, well, this is your Inside Star Citizen weekly review. And I'd like to thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk. And thanks to my newest patrons, Maddie Doman and Broken Sinister. Caves. When we think of caves in real life, some of us get nervous, many of us get excited, but almost all of us have some kind of intense emotional response. The caves that we had in this game were interesting, and at many times they were very intriguing, but there's some amount of awe that's lost when you're walking into a supposedly remote area and it just feels familiar. In Star Citizen, these can be a bit hit or miss due to the way they construct these locations. If you'd like to see more about the process of how they do that, check out my video on the feature in the video description. A lot of what makes Star Citizen great is also kind of what holds it back. The detail, the fine detail that goes into ships, locations, and features. It's not a perfect system, and even though sometimes we see the hint of a new great feature being developed, it can take quite a while for us to get our hands on it. This is one of those things. 2 years ago, we knew sinkhole caves, fissure caves, and just caves that vehicles and ships could enter were being worked on. But it's not until now that we will be getting not just a couple, but 6 different handcrafted, but procedurally assisted cave entrance types to accommodate our desire for more. I say entrance types because in this week's episode they didn't specifically tell us that there were completely new caves, so we're just going to be safe. But who knows? I assume they'll need to be different for us to be able to fly and drive in them, but I'd like to leave that disclaimer there just in case. Now, 6 cave types is pretty decent, nothing to write home about, but definitely something that'll add much needed diversity and a greater sense of awe to the cave diving experience. And with the new runtime environment lighting probes that were added last year, the way in which these cave entrances will change their identity based on the time of day is going to be really nice. And it's not a simple thing like changing the skybox and light direction. These planets and moons rotate on their own, and the star is actually the light source for every inch of the star system. So calculating how lighting and shadows might change based on these variables in an online environment can be tricky. Something else I'd be interested in knowing though is if these caves will be affected by the temperature and humidity system that overlays the planet, possibly leading to high humidity areas with fog and water. Now, I say this often. Many of the features being added are features that might not shine until they're paired with others down the line, because that's just the nature of a game in an alpha state. Because of this, while these caves look to be new, interesting additions to exploration gameplay, the possibility of NPC hideouts or weird flora and fauna in the future, and org events that we will be hosting, which you can join in the video description, I feel they might still not be quite that large of an addition in their own right. On the other side of that same spectrum is a feature that takes the place of that down-the-line addition that expands on the gameplay. And after years of following the development of this game, I just gotta say it's really nice to be at a point in this process where we can see new foundational additions to the game as well as these polishing features added to existing gameplay. Mining subcomponents. Real quick, what is that next to the journal in the Mobiglass? It's not in other recent videos, so is this just a dev thing, or I don't know. Anyways, subcomponents are yet another thing we've known about for some time. While we have our power supplies, our gravity generators, our quantum drives, and mining lasers, each of these components will also have their own components, adding diversity to every process through the use of new player-controlled variables. These subcomponents differ from the consumables we've already been using for mining in that they are passive, always working, but at a much more restrained level, allowing effects to stack upon the other equipment that you or your crewmates might be using. These are in addition to the already deep profession of mining, which I believe CIG is aiming to polish pretty heavily this year as a tentpole profession for the others to be modeled after. Now, I don't believe we are close to the end goal of what mining could be, and I don't think we'll see that this year. I think that will include mining out nodes and veins from slowly replenishing deposits using charges and other things, but what we have now and what I think we can expect to see throughout the year is a continuously improving profession that is the most fun way, in my opinion, to make money in the game. To stand by that statement, I made a video describing my position and infographics to help anybody who wants to get started, which you can find on the resources channel on my Discord server down in the video description. And while this will add more depth to the gameplay, CIG is really going to need to focus on building a large set of minerals with different uses and values, so that these consumables and subcomponents are actually useful, and the game doesn't digress into a single meta that solves every problem. With swinging supply and demand being implemented into the game through the quantum economy system, this could be a bit easier than it otherwise would have been. The ability for specific sellers to call for specific minerals while paying out an amount based on the need for that company's products will hopefully also mean miners are aiming for different minerals in different areas, requiring different methods. That was a lot. It's kind of confusing, but just rewind it and listen again. I think it makes sense. If you haven't mined before and are wondering what kind of differences these items can make, we're talking about things like the stability of the rock, the optimal window in which power can be transferred to the rock, the resistance of said rock, and more. There's also the possibility of additional forms of dangerous, volatile, or corrosive materials as well. All of these various factors will also be displayed on your HUD, with things like your laser, optimal range, current range, effectiveness, and the pros and cons of your components and consumables being displayed in real time. The episode ended with a closing statement that I honestly feel is the most interesting part of the whole drop. Mining gadgets, which will begin work immediately after the next patch. Now, without getting too deep into how I feel like this sounds a bit like how salvaging gameplay will work, or letting my mind go wild with theory crafting of how these gadgets might work, I've got a couple examples of what I think could happen. So, I guess I'm still gonna do the theory crafting. You see how the normal asteroids are rotating while the mining asteroid is stable? I would love it if some of the minables got a little push, and the specific area on the rock that you were mining was taken into account. Then, a thruster gadget would be needed to attach to the asteroid in order to stabilize it for your mining session so that you could focus on boring into one specific spot. Tell me that wouldn't be a fantastic little complication to the process. Or how about mining charges? Much like salvage charges, they would be used to blow through an impenetrable outer casing on the rock that you're mining. The possibilities are truly incredible, but of course, we'll have to wait and see what CIG actually has in mind for the future of mining. This episode was a solid balance of new locations with future implications and new gameplay additions with immediate effects, along with a little hint at what's to come. While this season of Inside Star Citizen will be ending soon, I'm excited to see what the next quarter will have in store, and I hope you'll subscribe here to continue getting your Star Citizen content as I shift to more opinion pieces and long-form videos and org events. If you'd like to take part in those org events, there is a link down in the video description where you can join and become a guest to just hang out, or a full member where you can benefit from the community, training, and resources that we offer to all of our members. And if you'd like just a general place to hang out, play some games, chill and chat, and make friends, you can always join our general gaming Discord as well down in the video description, where we play things like Squad, DayZ, Halo, and anything else you can imagine. Of course, whatever you choose to do, I'd like to thank you for viewing this video and for hanging out, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks to my top supporters TK, the Alpaca, the Huntress, Ben N, Dasek, Holson Coop, Guilty Conscience, Falcus Vipus, and Extreme Tuber.